Oh, yes. Hello, beautiful human. Andrew Barth Feldman going to be in the studio any second, but today's interview made possible by the mattress that I sleep on. If you are looking for a new mattress, look no further than the Vibrasonic by Beyond Sleep. This thing, Daniel, has speakers built into it.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Wow.
You listen to music differently. You feel it. You can watch movies differently. When you play video games, you really experience it. You can do more with your mattress. Plus, it comes with an adjustable base, so you can sleep in zero gravity, aligns to your spine. I get the best sleep I've ever gotten in my life. I'm telling you, it's changed my life. So if you're looking, look no further than the Vibrasonic. Plus, the memory foam keeps you cool when you get hot. And, yeah, it's just really good. Check it out. Learn more. Link on the screen. No, code on the screen. And a link below. Hi, beautiful human. I'm Zach. That is Dan. Welcome to the studio. For the first time ever, Andrew Barth Feldman.
Wow. Hey!
By the way, I peruse all my notes because you're very interesting. There's a lot of information on you.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I have this weird feeling that I'm talking to somebody who has the potential to craft one of the great next great musicals of our time.
Whoa.
No, real talk, and that's what your album gives, is the potential to do just that. And I don't know if that's intentional or just woven in your DNA, but yeah, you're really gifted.
Oh man, coming in strong.
Yeah, you're
Zach.
very cool.
Thank you so much. It's definitely both. It's both intentional and it's the thing that I'm an engine to do is making musicals. I think. I mean, we'll see.
But even with Penn Station, do you go in what is your creative goal going into that?
What's so funny about Penn Station and the solo stuff is that the goal there kind of really isn't one. Those are the songs that I wrote journaling. I just sat around and needed to express something and didn't know what it was yet. And so my language, especially at the time before I started, now I actually journal and meditate and hang out with stuff. But at the time, the only way I knew how to get it out was to write songs. And so I just had built up all of these songs. And I was I don't have anything to do with these except show them to people. So I worked with my buddy Ryan Sanchez, who's an amazing producer, was just here, whatever you think we should do with these, let's do it. And then we'll release it. And that's what we're going to do. But it's so not my... And all the credit in the world to the people who want to do this. It's just not my thing. Every time I think about trying to be a pop star or a recording artist, it's just not what I want to do. I want to write music as a function of something larger, not just kind of for myself. I want to write for a story.
Well, that's kind of how Penn Station flows, right? You're very much telling a story, and I try to ask myself, why do I feel like I'm listening to a musical? And I think part of it is your voice, right?
Yeah, totally.
But I think also part of it is song structure or maybe lack thereof, or in some cases that one song is 6 minutes and the other song could be 4 minutes and 30 or whatever it is. It's it varies.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not a pop structure at all.
No.
But it's clearly whatever you want to do. And it sounds amazing.
Thank you so much.
It's great. You can also see it. So it's very vivid, which I think is another thing that is when you think of what is a music, what is music from a theater production, it is all those things, right? Structure is, it's not first and foremost, it's not everything. And then on top of that, it's very vivid. It's very, very vivid, but it also sounds bigger,
Thanks.
All the shit sounds big. It's really good.
This is all really nice, Zach. Thank you so much. It's definitely exactly what I hoped it would do. Is just if you want to be, I'm going to tell you a story. I'm definitely not going to not tell you a story. That's as a songwriter and also just as everything I do, every single thing I do, I want to create an experience for whoever is receiving it and also for myself, something that pulls you into the present. That's kind of the hope. So that's really nice.
And I want to talk about music, but I also so much brings you to that. And I knew parts of your story, but I didn't know all of it. So I'm excited to talk to you about it.
Yeah, this is really exciting. I'm really happy to be here.
I mean, you make history as being the youngest Dear Evan Hanson. You're in high school in your cast, and and I didn't really fully understand it, but I knew they existed because my stepmom was a theater teacher in New Jersey and at a high school and was a part of a theater department that would compete in these things. But you end up winning this competition, right?
Yeah.
And you're in the same class as Renee Rapp.
Yeah, we won it together. Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
It's so crazy. It's a really insane thing to reflect on like every day that the two of us have had the paths that we've respectively had and thinking about that. Because that whole thing, that lasts a week, the Jimmy Awards, it's the most amazing thing. It's the funnest thing in the world. It's incredible. And it lasts a week, and just thinking about the approaches we had that like...
Can you explain it? Like,
Yeah.
what are you really doing?
So okay, here's how it works. And I was the one who begged my school to like submit me for this, and like I was just obsessed with this thing because there's these YouTube videos, and I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world. So basically, there's these regional awards. There's like 40-something regional awards around the country that just different shows from schools in the area will get, like people from those shows will get nominated for those regional awards. And then the two winners of each of those regional awards go to the Jimmy Awards.
Got it.
So first I did the Roger Rees Awards, which was in New York, and I won that for my performance in Catch Me If You Can in my high school. And then I went to the Jimmys, and that's a week of musical theater boot camp is really what it is. It's dance training. You're doing master classes with incredible Broadway stars. I was working with Adam Cantor, who has always been a hero of mine, and he's since been so kind to me. And you're working on the medleys, which is like the thing that everybody loves from YouTube, and the thing that I love from YouTube, which is basically you have like 10 or so people dressed as their characters in like a line, and they're each going to sing a part from their show. But you're all doing it together, so you have like Sweeney Todd dancing in the background of Snoopy singing Supper Time. It's like the whole bit is supposed to be, it's like this like very American variety show, like that you have all these characters coming together. These kids who are so passionate about these roles that they played, who know these roles better than certainly a lot of people. And it is now, I've gone every year, and it is the most fun night of the year to like sit there and nobody in the room knows who's going to win a Jimmy Award tonight, and then we're all going to find out together, and these kids' lives are going to be changed forever. There's more passion on that stage than any other stage in New York at any time. That's
wild.
Yeah.
Because your life genuinely changes from that moment on.
That was it.
But did you know you could win?
No. And my mom was very much like and with all these things, she was always like, just remember, you're not going to win. Like that was like the big thing was like, just don't forget, it's so amazing that you're here.
Yeah, but there's beauty to that.
Oh, it was amazing. I was releasing all expectation. It's a practice that I really keep with me. That week, my purpose that week was, I was like, okay, I'm not going to win this. I'm a sophomore. Like, there's no way I'm going to win this. But I am going to learn a lot, and I'm going to come out of this week a better performer than I was when I went in, and that is definitely true. And then I did win. It was really the night before. I was talking to my mom on the phone, and she said that she was like, "Just remember, you're not going to win." And I was like, "Yeah, but I think I have a chance of being a finalist. I think I might be a finalist." She was like, "Okay, don't get your hopes up." Like that was kind of the whole thing. Her big thing that she said after was, if I'd known you were going to win, I would have gotten better seats. That was her big thing. So no, I had no idea.
I mean, in that moment, like, dude, what? And to even think about that today.
Exactly. That's exactly right. It's never felt like the like place I come from or my alma mater. I never ever take that for granted. That's the most insane thing in the world. And I'm the biggest theater nerd. Like I was just some kid. Like I just loved theater so much. I was obsessed with it, and I am. And so that night going the way it did, that week going the way it did, the connections I made from that week lasting me as long as they have, is just completely insane. And truly, yeah, that's the foundation of everything that's come since, is that night. If that night had gone differently, like if I was playing a different role in Catch Me If You Can, or if I didn't win that, or I didn't win the Roger Rees Award in the first place, or whatever, I don't think I'd be sitting on this couch with you right now.
That's crazy.
Like, it's really, really crazy. Maybe in a couple of years, I have no idea. Who knows? But that was the thing that sent me into this like alternate reality that I've been in.
Evan changes your life.
Yeah. Oh my God, yes.
But are you prepared at that moment as somebody so young what it means to do 8 shows a week?
No, of course not. Oh my God, I was horrified.
Yeah.
But it was everything I wanted. Like that was my number one dream come true, was not just to play that part. Like when I saw that show, I think I was 14 the first time I saw Dear Evan Hanson, and Ben's performance just changed my life. It articulated something that I didn't have the words to articulate about myself even through my run. I was articulating it in terms of mental health and in terms of emotional well-being. I was using that as an outlet to articulate it. But I felt like at the time I was very much like, oh, I don't have a diagnosis of anxiety or anything, but I'm anxious like all teenagers. I can't sleep ever, and I'm constant. Like I'm like, no, you do. You have anxiety, Andrew. Like,
and you have OCD, right?
I do. I have OCD, and I didn't learn that until late into my run as Evan Hansen, which, reflecting on it, is the most amazing thing about the whole thing, I think, because if I was an audience member seeing that, I was seeing a kid who didn't know what was going on with him playing a kid who didn't know what was going on with him, who was navigating all of this stuff in real time and trying to prove to himself and to the world that he's normal, that he's just like everybody else, that there's nothing wrong with him.
How do you combat that while you're like doing that some days twice a day?
I feel so far. I will say, first of all, I will say this. Ben started this. Ben Platt started doing only 6 shows a week after the Tonys. So Evans only did, because now the show is dead in the ground. Evans only did 6 a week. I started doing 5 at the beginning because I was in school and I was 16. But then I built up to 6. But so I never did 2 in a day, thank God. But yeah, the insecurity was insane. It was unbelievable. And it wasn't pressure that was being put on me necessarily as much as pressure I was putting on myself. Because I had received that show as an audience member, as a teenager, I knew viscerally what it had the potential to do for audiences, for families, for young people, and I knew that that was my responsibility. And so I was constantly just thinking about the amazing guys who came before me. I was thinking about everybody in the audience. I got to a point where I didn't want anybody to tell me if they were coming, because I would be just be thinking about them. Like if you at the time were like, hey, like I'm coming to see the show, I'd be like, fuck, Zach's here. The whole time I'd be like, what's he thinking right now? Like I was so in it. I was looking at everything people were saying online, looking at everything.
But does that hurt the process of finding Evan?
Yes. It definitely hurts. I think no. Again, I was 16. Like I was at the beginning. To say what hindered or helped the process is kind of arbitrary, because I had no idea what I was doing. And luckily the people in that building were so amazing and were kind of looking at me, and they were like, okay, he doesn't know what he's doing yet, but he really wants to. He really cares about this. And so we're going to be here and we're going to support him while one of my best friends in the world, Alex Boniello, who played Connor when we did it, was really, in the weeks leading up to, he tells me this now, in the weeks leading up to it, really like, I can't believe they got a kid. Like, this is insane. Like, we're doing this Broadway show. They're bringing a kid into the building. What the hell? This is insane. And he was really worried about it. And then my first day when I showed up, he says, nobody on the planet wanted to be somewhere more than I wanted to be there. Like, it was every dream come true. It makes me really emotional to think about. So the insecurity hindered it to a point until I learned how to be like, oh, that's the feeling. Like, this is the feeling. But at the beginning, I was like, I'm going to go method. I'm going to do all these things. Like, I was really just trying to I needed to give the best performance ever. I needed to be the best person to play the role, to play any role. Like, I needed, for myself, I needed to go to sleep every night being like, I'm the best person ever.
And by the way, I get it, but
Yeah.
I think very few people can ever understand the responsibility of, and I get emotional when I talk about it, because theater is powerful. Stories that can be told on stage change lives.
Yeah.
That show in particular,
Yep.
people are seeing it for the first time.
Yep.
You have a job to do.
Yep.
And there's a lot of shit that needs to be parked.
Yep.
And the power that, I don't know how many shows you did at the end of it, but you changed lives in that process.
It was almost 300. It was almost 300
That's
shows.
crazy.
It's really crazy. It's really crazy. I miss theater so much. I haven't done like a long run of a show since then. But there were these points in the show that we learned when we'd know if the audience was listening or not, and if we were doing our job or not. It's the most amazing thing to be your own editor. That's the big difference, I think, between theater and like film and TV, is that there's a whole other person whose job it is to edit a movie. It's just you in theater. You're editing yourself.
So are you aware, or do you enter subconscious and just flow? Like, what is that like up there?
I think it's different for everybody, but for me, I'm super aware. I'm always calculating. And as I got deeper and deeper into the process, it was learning how to slip in and out of being like super present. There were moments where I had to be really present and really organic. Like if we're in a scene together and I've got to just, whatever you're giving me tonight, I have to respond to, and that's only going to happen if I'm right here with you. And then there are moments in the show where that's kind of impossible because it's heightened reality or whatever, and we're like, texting, and so we're just like looking out into the audience doing this thing, or that we have to get across a very specific point. And Michael Greif, who directed that show, is a very meticulous director. And so there were things where it would literally be like, shave this look by 2.5 beats. Like there were things that there was a book of moments in the show Dear Evan Hanson that had to be played like exactly a certain way for you to care about this kid. And
really,
so there was just a thing every day of like, okay, I know the moments where I get to really just like be here with my scene partner, but then there are moments where I really have to tell the audience, give the audience this information emotionally, and hit these marks. So it was in and out of calculating it and really being in my head and just like riding the wave. And that's the trick, is being able to flip the switch in the middle of a show multiple times.
How many months into the run do you stop getting notes?
No, never.
Cool.
Never. I literally and this is a Michael Greif thing. This isn't an every show thing. This is a Michael Greif. Again, I love him so much. He thankfully couldn't be at my last show, because if he was, he would have given me notes at intermission. Like he came the day before, and I was so, again, I'm going to reiterate that I was at this point 17 years old. The day before my last show, he couldn't be my last show because he was going to do Next to Normal in DC. And so he came to my second to last show. And I was so desperate for his approval. And he knew that. I was like, I pretty much said it. Like, I was like, I want you to give me your approval. Like, I was like, I need to leave this knowing that I did you proud. And he came to my second to last show, and he came up to my dressing room after, and he was like, Andrew, just so you know, you got to talk really fast. Evan, when he gets anxious, he talks like he's giving me notes, and I'm like, I'm done tomorrow. Like, I'm done tomorrow. And then he's like, and also, I'm so proud of you. And then he gives me this big hug, and he's like, you did something really, really incredible this year. And you, like, every time anyone doubted you, you proved them wrong. Like, he just gave me this beautiful speech, and he left, and I just wept for like 20 minutes in my dressing room. Just like the whole year, just like, it was so emotional. It was so, so, so emotional. He's an amazing guy. He's directing 4 shows on Broadway this season. He's unbelievable. But the answer is never. The answer is I got notes pretty much every day for the whole entire run. Packets of notes.
I can see it.
Yeah, like finishing a show and then coming to my or getting to the theater the next day and getting to my room, and I'm like, like there's just 6 printed pages of notes for the show, but it made it better. It did. He was right. He was always right.
It's wild. Because at the end of the day, making it through that essentially sets you up as a performer to, I'm not bullshitting you, do anything. And every friend I have who has done that at that age has gone on to do some of the greatest shit in the world.
That's certainly the hope. And I even at the time, I left that being like, that's the hardest thing I'm ever going to do. Like, there's no way I'm ever going to do anything harder. And if anyone ever asks me to do anything harder, I'm going to say no. Like, that was like doing that show, that sing, that cry, that like all of those things that many times a week for that long was so hard. And it was so rewarding. And I truly was grateful every day. But it was really, really hard.
After 300 performances, were you ready to move on and kind of be done with the character? Or did you feel like you still had some more left in you?
I think it was I don't know that I was ready to move on. I was ready to take a break at least. Mm-hmm. But there, at the time especially, there were definitely conversations with the producers and with everybody, like, maybe I'll go back. Maybe at some point I'll come back. Like, I'm still really young. Like, I can do this for a while. And then pandemic happens, and throughout the pandemic, I'm like, I think I want to go back. I really miss it. But that's because I hadn't done anything else. Like, I sitting around. Like, I was just sitting around, and I that was the last thing I did. And so once I had gotten my feet wet with some other stuff, like once I did High School Musical and just sort of moved on, I was like, I miss it. I miss it a lot, but I'm done. I'm ready to close this chapter. I love him. I love Evan. I love the people I work with. I think it's a perfect musical. But I was ready to grow up, and I continue to be. But I still miss it a ton. And I wonder all the time if I could just if I was plopped on the stage, if I could do it. I don't know.
You think?
I don't know. I think to an extent. I think there are certain, if I had one rehearsal, I think I could do it.
Just one?
Yeah, I think so.
Of course.
At least paraphrasing, some stuff. But I know all the songs and everything. But I don't sing Waving Through a Window anymore. I just don't do it.
Why? It's hard.
Too hard.
Yeah.
It's just too hard. I had nightmares about it throughout the whole year. For the first couple months, I would wake up, and this was just not a good idea. This is where the OCD comes in that I didn't know that I had. I would literally open my eyes in the morning and go, wave it! Like, do I have it? Do I have it? And if I didn't, first thing in the morning, I'd be like, what do I need to do today to get there? Like, something's wrong. I was freaking out every day, all day.
Because really the whole performance hinders on that moment.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what people wait for.
I cracked one time, I think, in the whole run on the big note. And for a week after, I couldn't do it. I was like, what? I was putting it in this weird place in my voice because I was like, I just had psyched myself out. It was a really insane mental thing to do. And it never got easy. I know that's not true for all the Evans, but for me, it just never became an emotionally easy thing to sing that song or any of it, really.
Do you believe your OCD was fueled by a responsibility to do this perfectly? And all the nuances that comes with this idea of if you did it perfect this one time, I have to do it this way every fucking time.
Absolutely.
Bro, I wore the same pair of shoes for 2 years because I thought the only way I could do a good radio show is if I wore these shoes.
Yep. Yeah, man. These rituals we have, it's
fucked up.
I had 100 things I did that a lot of them genuinely did make me better, but once I figured out what foods to eat during the day that didn't mess with my voice or whatever, I ate the same thing every day for 6 months. I ate sushi every day for half the run.
Gets mercury poisoning.
I can't believe I didn't get mercury poisoning. There was one show where this was crazy actually. There was one show where I had sushi from just a different place than I normally got it.
You can't fuck that. You can't do that.
I can't do that.
That's
and
ridiculous.
we get to the show and I'm like, I don't think I can do the show. It's places and I'm down there and I'm like, guys, I think I'm gonna throw up. And our stage manager was like, are you sure? Because here's the thing. It's not like another show where I get to be like, I can't do the show, get my understudy in the costume and bring him down. I have a real cast on my arm. They have to put a cast on him and that takes 20 minutes because it has to dry. So they were like, are you sure you can't do the show? And I was like, get a cast on him so that if I call out in the middle of it, I can go, but I'll do it. I'll go on. So I'm waiting. We're at places. We're standing there and it's taking a while. It's taking 10 minutes to start the show, which does not normally happen. We find out there's some guy in the audience that has a pacemaker that needs to plug into an outlet or he'll die. Okay. And so they're getting an extension cord and all this stuff. So we're waiting there for 15 minutes. I'm waiting to go on while they're trying to stop this guy from dying. I ended up not throwing up and finishing the show.
And the guy survived.
And the guy survived, so it's a happy ending to the whole story. But yeah. Yeah, that was a bad day for a second there.
That's wild. Do you ever have to call out?
Never in the middle of a show, which is something I'm really proud of because I think I'm one of the only Evans. At the time, I was the only Evan to not call out in the middle of a show.
Really?
Yeah, which is pretty awesome. But there were 2 times where I called out just from vocal fatigue, which is another thing I'm just really proud of. But it's also because OCD, I didn't talk my entire life until I was standing there. And then just I got sinus infections and stuff and I had to call out. And then my mom passed also during my run and that I was out for 2 weeks, which I did not want. I wanted to get right back there. I was I need to get back on this stage right now. I need to do the show. I need something to do every day. And Stacey Minich, our producer, who is the best, was like, I'm making you take 2 weeks off. You have to take 2 weeks off.
Are you grateful you did?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And coming back, I remember the night coming back after those 2 weeks so strongly because it was another one of my first, it was a first show. because 2 weeks is a long time to like not do something that you have built up a muscle to do over 6-7 months. But there was just like probably half of the audience was people in my life who were there to support me after that. And so, yeah, I am really thankful that I took the 2 weeks off, and I'm really thankful I had the show after that, because there was just this catharsis every night. There was something I could do with this feeling that I had. And not to mention that it's a really painful show. It's a really emotional show, but that show ends every night with me, Evan, whomever it may be that night, being held in his mom's arms saying, your mom isn't going anywhere. Your mom is staying right here. And at the time, the woman who's playing my mom, Lisa Brescia, she's just the most amazing person in the world. And she's an incredible performer, but she's an incredible, incredible person. And she knew what it meant. And we talked about it and we shared in it. It wasn't something that it was so far from something I was going through alone. That cast had my back every second of it. So I'm thankful for all of it except for the part where she died. I'm thankful for all of the other stuff, though.
She couldn't have been more proud of you, though.
It's an unbelievable thing that she was so far from, we called her the anti-stage mom. Like, she did not want me to be an actor. She was terrified. But she saw that I was going to be okay. She was like, okay, I guess this is what he's doing. You know, like, he's going to be fine. The fear was that it wasn't going to be stable, that I wasn't going to be successful, that I was getting too big for my britches. The fact that this is something Justin Paul, one of the writers of the show, and also every song you've heard in the last 15 years, wrote in an email to me, was like, your mom saw your biggest dream come true. Your biggest dream came true at 16, and your mom was there to see it. That's not an accident. Like, that was meant to happen this way. And she, for my first month of the show, she was there every night. She was at every single show. And then I was like, you can't come every night anymore. So she came once a week after that. Like, it was her journey as much as it was mine.
You still feel her around you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was a while where I didn't, because that'll come again. But I think lately it's the journey now is, I think I got really comfortable with the status of having a dead mom. Like, I think I got really like, I have a dead mom. But that's comfortable because it's something you have. It's something that's I currently have a dead mom. The way harder thing to reckon with is that I had a mom, and that she was the best. She was truly the greatest. And I promise I would have said this at the time. Like, she was the best mom. And it affects my life in so many covert ways that if I don't accept that part, that I did have a mom, and that's incredible, but that loss is something that is going to affect me forever, then I'm just letting that loss run my life. So I really do. I really do feel her, and I try very deliberately to. I try very deliberately to carry on the love that she showed me, that she showed really everyone. I mean, like, on Long Island, where I grew up and where we lived, she was more famous there than I am anywhere now. Like, everywhere we went, there were like 5 people coming to our table at a restaurant being like, you saved my kid's life. You got them into college. You did this or that. Like, she was a hometown hero. So
what did your mom do?
She was a lot of things. She was a freelance college admissions counselor, which is, so now I get a lot of people who are like, hi, I don't know if you remember me, but I was at your house literally all the time because your mom got me into college.
That's amazing.
She was the head of a summer day program at my school, and then right before she passed, she became the head of school, which is not something she wanted to do. It was just kind of like, we don't have anybody else to do this, and you're the best person for the job. And I think it was the best case scenario that she didn't have ambitions for it. It was just like she had to do it. And she just cared so much about kids. She just loved kids so much, and the potential that they had, and fostering growth. She was just endlessly a giver in everything she did.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And has ripple effects that you can't measure that.
Oh my God. There are just so many things that happen, and I think the universe just likes to take big swings with me. Like, it's just kind of like the biggest and craziest, most outlandish possible thing can happen, and then in the same moment, the most horrible thing can happen, you know? And that's balance, and that's what it is. I don't know what to make of it except to try and ride the wave. And I am just I am in so many ways thankful for all of it. You know, I miss her so much, but that loss informs all of my art.
That's what I mean, it has to make you a different artist.
Completely. All of it. Everything I do comes back to that. Like the ability to write about grief and what that relationship was, what that relationship is. It's in everything I do. And also that kind of heartbreak just brings you so much closer to the people in your life. It's something my family and I all went through. Cause now my family now is my mom's sister, my aunt, her sons, who we were always like brothers. And this is not like a far stretch for me. Like we always lived around the corner from them. Like they were our immediate family. So to go through this with them has brought us, so close. And we continue to go through it, of course, every day. And they're amazing people. So it's complicated as hell. And I will be navigating it until the day I die. But that's everything, She was way too young. I was way too young. It fucking sucked. And it's beautiful in a lot of ways. And that's how she would want me to see it. So
it's the best way to see it, but also a way to see it that can actually, there's power to that. When you can look at it from that perspective, there's power to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's ways to take ownership and better your life, but also those around you, which
that's everything. That's everything is just getting to know the feeling is the everyday challenge, being present with it as opposed to fighting it and raging against it.
Yeah, or ignoring it.
Yeah. Which is what I was doing at the time. Like at the time when she passed, and I was 16 years old, like I was like, I'm good. And I've written like many a musical about this in my private life that maybe one day will see the light of day. But at the time, it was just like, yeah, I'm good. It's good to see you. Like her Shiva, which is like Jewish wake for those who don't know, was a blast. Like my friends came over and we played board games and just like had a really nice time. Like I reflect on those days so fondly. Because I felt so supported, I felt really loved, and I was just like, no, everything's fine. What does everybody need? Do you need water? Do you need like food? Like it was just moving so that I could like I could outrun the feeling. But yeah, especially for the pandemic to happen pretty soon after. She passed in August 2019. So for the pandemic to happen pretty soon after that was exactly what I needed and also the worst case scenario.
Yeah, because to feel that's the most alone, no matter what. I can't.
Yeah, and to be just in a world of a family, like then I was living with my aunt and my brothers and my uncle, and they're again amazing people, but they are a different family. They're like so getting used to each other's
a lot of learning.
It was a lot of learning that they were really, really generous in doing. That I did my darndest to be generous in doing. That we all continue to do our darndest in being generous in doing. So yeah, it's an endless sort of Russian nesting doll of feelings shit.
Who do you share the musicals that you write with?
My friends, my dearest friends. I am a person, this is something that I really am proud of and kind of defined myself by. I make stuff happen. When I have an idea, the odds that it's going to happen in some capacity are pretty high, for better or worse. And so in terms of the musicals that I've written over the last few years, we do like I'm constantly working on them and doing readings with my friends, and we're like reading it, doing like rehearsing it. When I was in middle school, I mean, the first time I wrote a musical, I was in 8th grade. I wrote a musical with my friend Adrian. We wrote a Star Wars musical.
Sick.
And we did it. Like we did a production of it, and then we did it again at 54 Below after my run as Heaven with like professional adults. It was the funniest thing ever. So I'm just continuing. Yeah, it's just like I'm writing one right now that we did a reading of, last summer, and we'll do another one this summer. I bet. But luckily, I'm working with my really dear friend Juju Jaworski, who's incredible. We're writing that together. But anyway, yeah, I have a really amazing community of friends who are artists, friends who aren't artists but care about art, friends who aren't artists and don't care about art but care about me, which is really, that's the spectrum of what you need if you're going to be sharing material.
Are you developing one project or are you doing a couple?
I'm doing a couple. I really go through, I've learned to embrace this as opposed to feel sort of shame about this, but I go through, the way my brain operates is there's like, for one day, or maybe even weeks at a time, there's something that is like the sole purpose of my existence. And then I've gone in too deep and I lose interest. It's like when you've eaten the same food every day.
Yeah, you're a Taurus, eh?
Yeah, I'm a Taurus.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. I just like get really, really, really into something and I make a ton of progress and it's like close to being done. And then my attention goes to something else. And I just have to ride that wave and trust it because at some point it will come back around. Like at some point it will go back around to the thing that I put down for a second and that will get done. But if I'm making myself do something that I'm not inspired by, then it's not going to be good.
I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I'm very similar.
Yeah?
Yeah. I get very, very intensely focused on shit, and I will ride it very, very far, and then I'll get distracted, move on to something else. And then they do come around. Some of them, the ones that are meant to come around.
And if they're not meant to come around, then they're not meant to come around, and you weren't meant to finish it.
Exactly.
But you're a better artist or whatever it is.
Because I tried.
Right. You tried, and you spent that time focusing on something, even if it resulted in nothing.
Yeah, but I really learned. So
you
it results
learned
in so
a
much.
lot. You grew a lot from doing whatever it was that you did for 2 to 3 weeks.
Dan thinks all my shit is crazy sometimes.
He's got a different idea every single day.
You know?
I'm like,
Well, not every day, every few days.
No, I'm exactly the same way. I literally, my agent on the ride here texted me like, do you have an idea for any murder mystery stuff? And I was like, let me write down 4. And then I wrote down 4 and sent them to her. And she was like, this is hilarious. And I was like, I'm an engine for writing things in a notes app. Like, that's like what I am made to do. And honestly, writing things in a notes app is a newer practice because normally, the thing about OCD is you don't have the part of your brain that tells you when something is done. So normally, I'll just, what I would like to, if I just listen to like my brain and my body, I would sit down and write like a whole thing, and then you would have knocked on the door of the green room and be like, can you come in? And I'd be like, give me 10 minutes. Like, I have to finish this. Like, that's how I would like to operate. So I have to set some rules for myself, and I do. Like, I don't work past 10 p.m. because otherwise I'm sleeping. I'm not sleeping because I'm like just thinking about it, and I'm like writing at 4 a.m.
Is there a primary focus that you have right now? Is there a musical that you're working on?
Yeah. There's a musical I'm working on. It's called Zugzwang Falls.
Where is that?
It's about kids on a reality show competing with one another.
Okay.
And who they become 15 years later. And it's really fun. It's really, really, it's, I think what I love is the puzzle of like story structure.
Okay.
And that's my whole thing. So music is a function of that. I'm so thankful that it's a language I speak because I just love being like, okay, this is what has to come across in this moment emotionally. I'm going to write until it does. I have to get into this character's skin and understand where they are in the puzzle of this whole thing. We have 8 characters in this show and they're all really important. So like really getting to know each of them. I'm also writing a yacht rock jukebox musical with my brother. Like just kind of for fun, but also I just go around listening to yacht rock music and then I like pull out my phone and write down 10 things because I'm like, wait, this means that Brandy does this. Like, you know what I mean? Because like I just love the puzzle. I love the puzzle.
So are you crafting story from nothing, or is somebody coming to you with an idea and you're turning it into something?
I'm normally crafting story from nothing. So Zugzwang Falls was my idea that I had when I was at college. And I tried to start writing the book, and I just couldn't do it. I just found that I couldn't do both, at least not at the time. And then my friend Juju sent me a play of theirs that she's actually directing right now and that I wrote some music for and goes up this week, which is amazing.
Mazel tov.
But it's so exciting. But yeah, and she sent me this play, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is exactly like the sound of the world. Like this is like I think you're gonna understand these people." And so we went to dinner, and I told her about this idea. I told them about the characters, and they had 2 scenes for me the next morning. Like it's just been this really magical collaboration.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So like, okay, can you explain to me the process of getting a Broadway show picked up? My understanding is you get it written, you shop it a bunch, you talk about it, you develop it a bunch, and then you go to people with money.
That's correct.
And then the people with money, they put money into it, and they allow you to do it, essentially.
That's a bare bones and optimistic view of what it is. There's a lot of routes. There's a ton of routes. where the people with the money come into it varies. So
Okay.
like it could be that the people with the money are like, we're gonna make a musical based on, I don't know, Taken, like the movie I'm pulling a movie out
With
of my
Liam
butt,
Neeson.
but yeah, sure.
I'd go.
I'd go too. That sounds awesome. Like they'd probably be stunts. That sounds great. Maybe I'll go write Taken the musical. But they're like, we're gonna write a musical based on Taken. So we have these like 10 composers that might do it, and we'll have them write a spec song for it, and then we'll pick one, and then they're gonna write it. That's like the most commercial way for a musical to be written.
Got it.
Then there's, I'm a composer. I have an idea to write Taken the musical. I'm going to go ahead and start writing it. I'm going to see if I can get the rights, and then I'll bring it to a producer either really early on if I have a relationship with a producer, or I'll be shopping it around, or maybe I'll take it to, this is where the really original work comes in. If you're like, I'm writing Zugzwang Falls, I'm writing something that like nobody, it's not based on anything, it's an original concept, or it's based on like a book, like something that doesn't have like intellectual property sort of power behind it.
Because sometimes like musicals do start as books.
Totally. Of course. So everything starts as books. Like I'm super down for musicals being based on stuff, because it is a whole different, if you're doing it right, of course, it's a whole different interpretation of a story. You have to look at a thing and say, does this benefit from music? And if it does, how and why? And everything is just chasing that how and why. That's something that excites me so much. But if it's just something that doesn't have intellectual property behind it, you might write it, and then you might go through all manner. There's lots of festivals that you can take it to, which is something I'm really excited to hopefully be a part of the circuit. There's lots of, now you can go on TikTok and like share
Totally.
it that way. Like there's all sorts of things you can do, and then you get investors from those festivals. You talk to people you have relationships with. The question really is, what is the musical telling you that it is? Is it telling you that it's commercial? Is it telling you that it's a Broadway musical? Or is it just supposed to be, should it just be licensed to high schools and regional theaters and community theaters? Should it just be off Broadway or tour or on a cruise ship or whatever? And I am so against the idea that one of those is better than another. Of course, financially, they're like, if you're trying to make money by writing musicals, good fucking luck. Like that's an insane.
But by the way, you got to play all the games if you want to make money doing musicals.
Right,
Like, you need to be
exactly.
licensing it
You
everywhere.
have to be licensing it. You have to be writing something that from the outset,
Is
you're
commercial.
like, I'm writing a commercial piece, which is, you can't do that unless you are an expert, unless you have a degree in musical theater. You can't sit down and say, I'm going to write something commercial, meaning tons of people are going to want to see it and they're going to like it. That's what that means.
But I can also make the case that like the best art doesn't start that way.
Exactly.
And the best shows don't start that way. And yeah, okay.
Exactly.
You're a good man, Charlie Brown. Has great IP behind it.
Yeah.
But like, that's what makes it commercial. But the music makes it incredible.
Thank
And
you
that's
for bringing up You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. I
fuck
love
yeah,
You're a Good
man.
Man, Charlie Brown.
Saw it with Kristen Chenoweth, dude.
Hell yeah, dude.
I've seen a lot of original casts on Broadway.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, yeah,
I played Linus in 5th grade.
Oh.
I love You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown so much. It's on I have a playlist of just like musical theater songs that just give you that feeling. And the opening number of You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown is one of those. It's so good. Yeah, like I think about, honestly, Shrek the Musical. Shrek the Musical is so good. Shrek the Musical is amazing. That's like a perfect score. Seussical is one of my favorite musicals.
So good.
Oh my God. I have a ton of ideas about what I want to do with Seussical in my lifetime. Like all of those things, it's like, yes, those started as what one might call a cash grab or something. But you can take that and say, but I still am going to make art. I still am going to make something artistic. Okay, this is the foundation, but I'm going to make something good. But you look at who wrote those. You have Janine Tesori. You have David Lindsay Abaire. You have people who know what the hell they're doing. If you're just some person who's like starting to write a musical and you're like, this is going to be really commercial, and so we're going to like talk about this, and this is trendy right now, you're setting yourself up for the most disaster in the world. So for me, Zugzwang and the other stuff I'm writing, it's really just what I feel the need to express, and the art I want to see, the art I want to make, and that's the only thing I can go off of. And then maybe one day, once I've written 10 musicals, somebody will say, hey, we're writing Taken the Musical, and I'll say, I know exactly what to do. I got it.
I've been waiting for this moment. It's really cool.
Yeah, I love it. It's the more and more I do it, the more I'm like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Like, this is so what I want to do. And maybe it's partly because it's what I'm yearning for right now. Like, I love acting so much and I want to keep doing it. But I don't yearn for it as much because I've gotten so many opportunities to do it now. I have this like yearning to just sit and watch a musical that I've written, which is something I've still have not gotten to do.
Fulfilling in a different type of way.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you explain the process of getting into Harvard?
Yeah, it really helps if your mom is a college admissions counselor.
It made a lot of sense. Like she definitely helped.
She helped.
Your story.
I mean, from the time I was in 6th grade, I was crafting my essay. Like I
Really?
was, like we were touring schools from the time I was in middle school and stuff.
Wow.
The process of getting, and it also meant that because she knew the game, like I was just, I was working my ass off through all of school.
She knew exactly what you needed to do.
Yeah.
So what was your essay about?
My essay was about the musical The Last 5 Years, actually.
Oh.
Because I don't know if you know the show. It's Jason Robert Brown. It's one of my favorite shows. And it's just a 2-person show, traditionally a man and a woman. And it's about sort of the deterioration of their marriage and their relationship, but his story is told forward and her story is told backwards. So like she sings at the beginning, at the end of the relationship. And then he comes in and he's singing at the beginning of the relationship as she's going back and he's going forward. They meet in the middle. It's an amazing piece. It's an incredible piece. And I was obsessed with it. And so when I was 16, like right before Evan Hansen and all that, I directed a production at my theater company where I just got a bunch of my really talented friends together and we switched parts every time. So you had the traditional boy and girl, and then you had them switched, and then you had 2 girls, and then you had 2 boys, just to kind of see, just to kind of see what happened. And I, outside of learning so much about theater, learning so much about that piece, I just like learned a lot about gender doing that. I learned a lot about gender roles, how much they, when I was singing a particular song to a girl versus singing it to a boy, I was performing it differently. I was landing actions differently when it's like a confrontation. There's a lot of confrontations in the show, and I keep clarifying my age. I guess I'll stop doing that. But at the time, I was when I was performing it with like one of my girl co-stars, I was like really being like very like soft and like please listen to me. And when it was like my friend who was a dude, I was like screaming at him. And I was like, what is that all about? And it led me down this rabbit hole of just learning so much about the differences between gender roles and are they genetic? No, they're mostly cultural.
Yeah.
They're mostly given to us by parents. That's what the science says pretty clearly.
Interesting.
So that's what I wrote my college essay about. And it was really essays that I was writing while doing the show. I wasn't doing it to write my college essay. I was writing it to promote the show and kind of explain what we were doing. And my mom was like, you should really be saving these essays. And that was it.
Really?
Yeah.
So you were where were you publishing these essays?
Just on like Facebook and like Instagram.
Cool.
Like just like putting them out there and being like, this is how I'm doing right now. This is what's going on with the show. This is a really meaningful experiment. Like I was really framing it as like, this is an experiment. And it was. That's what we were doing. It was really cool. I love that show.
That's really cool. That is really fucking cool.
Thanks.
Different than just writing about your life.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, so she would tell me, like, she would have me read essays sometimes and like be like, what do you think about this? And it would be like, the different fingers on my hand and how they relate to tennis. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, everybody's got their thing, and I was just really lucky. And I felt this when I went to college for one semester, to be clear, I was just like, I already know what I want to do. Like I already have a really good sense of myself and what the sort of world of my purpose is. I didn't have to like be like, I don't know what's my identity and what I have to write about. I was like, this is what I think about from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep.
Awesome. And also people go to college to find exactly that.
Right. Which was why college felt a little weird.
Even if it is Harvard.
Yeah. Totally.
Which is fucking cool.
It was really cool. And my classes were amazing. But I had taken a gap year because of COVID already. I was supposed to start that year. And then I got there and everybody was really interesting and really great. But I was like, not only do I already know what I want to do, I'm already doing it. Like I had already filmed High School Musical. It hadn't come out yet. I had already done Dear Evan Hanson, of course. I had already been doing so many things. I had filmed Foul Play already, which was the murder mystery series that I made. Like that had all happened. And then I was in college and I was sleeping on a twin XL and doing a shared bathroom. And not to mention I was really less prepared than I thought I was for people to like know who I was at college, which was a weird thing. Because I think I had really romanticized having the normal college experience. And A, that probably doesn't really exist. Maybe it does, and I just don't have access to it. But B, it certainly doesn't happen when everybody knows who you are.
Oh, totally.
And I wasn't that famous, but if you're going to Harvard and your grandpa's like, the kid sitting next to you might be president, that's like the whole thing. And there's one kid in your class who you can Google. Like everybody's like, oh, he was Evan Hanson on Broadway. He's really famous. He like knows these people, and he was like that. And I just felt like a zoo animal sometimes. But I really do miss it. There's a lot I loved, and I hope I get to go back. It's a pretty incredible place, and my classes were just amazing.
But getting the Jennifer Lawrence movie is validating, right?
It's pretty validating. It definitely is. It definitely is. I was about to start looking at what my classes were going to be that semester when she called. Like it was a pretty unbelievable, insane moment.
The universe told you something.
All of these leaps and bounds. Like this is what, like tracking through my whole career, which is a word I can somehow use thus far, is just these massive leaps. These things that I thought, that'll never happen probably as long as I live, but I'm just going to keep working toward it, and maybe I'll get close. Have already happened to me. Like, it's so crazy.
But it was also done at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you believe in some sort of manifestation universe?
I definitely do believe. Yes. I believe in a higher power. I don't quite know what it is. I am an increasingly spiritual person in ways. I meditate. Manifestation, I don't know about. And I think it's because for me, what's always worked for me is the work. But then again, I also I'm in this body. I look like this. I have a certain amount of access that not everybody has. And so things do come a little more easily to me than they might a counterpart of mine who is just looks different or is different from this very palatable person that you see sitting before you. So I'm certainly not going to negate manifestation, but I will say that for me, whenever I've manifested in the past, because I have tried it and I've really become excited about it, I get so specific. With what I want to happen, and the result is always more exciting than whatever I thought it was going to be. It's always what was supposed to happen instead of what I wanted to happen. So for me, manifesting is just kind of I hope whatever's supposed to happen happens. And actually, I'm just going to decide that whatever happens is what's supposed to happen. Beautiful. And ride the wave of that. But I definitely do believe in whatever the word you'd want to call the universe, God, the whole thing is. the connection between people.
Totally.
I think it just exists.
Collective energy. 100%.
Yeah, it exists. This is it.
Yeah, dude. Energy is, you can't debate that.
No, there's science. There's science about the way our emotions, just by having them, affect the people around us. There's science to support all this. And I think the more we find it, the more that spirituality is going to be it's not so much the stuff that we've been making it out to be, but it's undeniably true that there's something just greater that we can't imagine. And to think that there isn't is so narcissistic of us as a species. We're just one step of evolution on the way to something else, but we're making the best of it while we're here.
Scary to think about, eh?
It is kind of scary to think about. I think about it so much.
Do you?
I do.
Oh, that's OCD?
That's OCD. Yeah, there was a second there. I'm in exposure and response prevention therapy, which is pretty amazing. I don't have to be clear about my OCD.
Break that.
Let's break this down.
Exposure and response therapy.
Exposure and response. It's a type of cognitive behavioral therapy. So I was in talk therapy for a really long time, and it's great, of course, and helped me through so much. And it's when I got diagnosed with my OCD. But the further I went down the rabbit hole, and to be clear about my OCD, I don't have stuff with germs. I don't have stuff with there's very few physical compulsions. It's all mental.
Okay.
It's all just thinking really, really, really hard about stuff and not being satisfied until it's reached its conclusion, which is never.
So how does that tangibly result in exposure?
Right.
Part
it's
of
really
the
hard.
therapy?
It's literally being let's say I think, This is let me think of a good example. I think this water is poison, for example. I don't think this water is poison, by the way. I trust you. But let's say I think this water is poison. The exposure would be you have to drink all this water.
Yeah.
So for thinking stuff, it's just like, okay, I'm really scared of this possibility in the future. I'm really scared that this thing might happen, and I'm constantly trying to avoid this thing happening in my relationships. Like I'm scared that like I'm gonna get cheated on or something. It's like, okay, we're gonna watch a bunch of videos about being cheated, and you're gonna write down scenarios that you're getting cheated on, or you're cheating, or you have feelings for somebody else, or whatever. Most of my stuff is really relationship focused, or you're gonna record a voice memo of yourself talking through what would happen, and then you're gonna listen to it like once a day. Like that's the kind of stuff, and it's insanely painful. Like when I first started and I first like recorded the first thing and then listened to it, I was breaking out in sweats. Like I was like, my heart was beating so fast. I was just like, this was in college. I was just like laying out in my bed being like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. But then at some point you just get bored. And at some point you're listening to it and you're like, well, maybe that is gonna happen. Maybe this water is poison. Maybe I'm gonna die today. Like maybe I'm gonna die any day. Like it's just kind of becoming, really the whole thing is becoming okay with uncertainty. Settling with uncertainty and not knowing what's going to happen next, what's happening right now, if this person likes you or not, if that's what it is for me, at least. For other people, it's a lot more physical. But that's just not my bag. It's not my deal.
It's not your bag.
Not my bag.
Where do you think that is stemming from? This idea that
I think it's really been always. I was kind of born with it, I think. Like I don't know. But I
you
know
always
that
think friends are going to cheat on you and people are going to leave you?
When I was little, though, there was a lot of like, when I was a kid, there was a really long time where I was like, I as far as I'm concerned, am not a member of the queer community. I don't identify as queer, and I don't want to claim that space. And that I don't feel like I'm missing a part of myself from that. But when I was a kid, I came out to my mom. I was like, Mom, I'm gay. And she was like, just because I had spent days thinking about it, and I was like, I do theater, I have to be gay. And I was probably like 7 or something. Or no, I couldn't have been. I was 9. And she was like, you like girls. And I was like, I forgot that that's part of it. I fully just forgot that was part of, I just assumed it was a label I had, and I was terrified. I was so scared of being gay. And then I was like, maybe I don't like girls. I spent like years like obsessing, which is a whole other subset of OCD that I don't have anymore, because now I'm like, maybe I am. Fuck it. Like now I'm super excited about that. But the same with like, I love Disney World. I love the Disney parks. I love, and I remember this trip when I was like, I don't know, 11 or 12, we went, and the entire time I was like, am I really having fun? Is this really fun? What is fun? Like, do I deserve fun? Like the whole entire trip. And my mom got like pissed at me. She was like, we spent a lot of money on this. Like, yeah, you're having fun. Like you are, this is fun. But I was just sitting there like, I don't know. I'm not sure. So it's really been always just like,
it's interesting.
Yeah, I know, right? Just trying to get certainty about stuff. And now the practice for me is like talking to myself about it and being like, hey, maybe not. Maybe you're not having fun right now. That's okay.
It is okay.
Yeah.
But it's easier said than
done. It's definitely easier said than done when it's just your whole, every alarm is going on. Like it's anxiety, which a lot of people in the world have, a lot of people in my generation have, but it's just it just latches on to an idea. So it's not about the content as much as it is just the latching on to. That's what OCD, again, at least for me, I can only speak from my own experience. That's what it really is.
No, but it's a very common thread, and I think many people in your generation share it.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly amplified by social media.
Oh yeah.
Which I was, born into. I had an Instagram account when I was like 9 or 10 or something. I don't remember, but that's only going to increase until something is done governmentally.
Totally.
And we're talking about it the way that we talk about cigarettes. But
well, because the truth is, it does. Like, if from a health perspective, social media and the internet is very, very, as much as it fuels everybody in this room's career in some way, shape, or form. It, if unchecked, like everything,
it kills.
Yes,
it literally kills. It terrifies me. I try not to go to social media. I don't have it on my phone, but I go on my computer. I go to like literally Instagram.com. I'm one of those people. Yeah, I try not to go. It's not. We need it. And there is an insane amount of good. Like, is it a net positive for the world? Probably. Do I think it shouldn't exist? No, it should exist. But there just has to be some kind of regulation. But I just like who do we trust to regulate that? I don't know. These are the questions. We're getting into it. I don't know
it's not the corporations. Is it really the government? It's a whole lot. And by the way, they're figuring it out, and they are
figuring it. Thank God the conversations are being had, and they really are, which is good news. I'm just like I always say, and I have to release this, but I'm always like I don't want to have a kid until we're talking about it. Like we're talking about cigarettes. Like
totally.
like that I can say to my kid like. When you're older, you can make a decision for yourself about whether or not you want to do this. This is my experience with it. This is what it does. So if you have these really horrible feelings from this thing, know that it's not you. It's this thing.
But I do genuinely think that people need to be talking about it like this, and nobody is. Like, show me commercials that are the same way as anti-smoking ads.
Right.
That are anti-social media and or social media within reasonable bounds.
Yeah,
right?
We just need boundaries with it that are so hard to enforce because it is made to addict you. It is built to addict you. Like, that's why it exists. That is the incentive.
But it's also like this weird thing of like, I can also make the case that like my career would be non-existent if I didn't have the internet. Like 17 years ago, I built a radio show for my bedroom, and if I didn't have access to it, like that is a pipeline of connectivity and information and a platform and innovation. But also 17 years ago was really different.
Listen, it kills. Yes, it also saves a lot of lives. It does so much good. There has to be a way to preserve that and rein in the deaths and the destruction that it causes, which is a lot.
By the way, a part of that is awareness and understanding that this thing that you're doing is the reason why and or could lead to this, because that is not even a conversation that's happening.
Yep.
And by the way, like I can make like one good idea would be like those ads should populate pages of social media. You should give a certain amount of ad inventory to like, advertisements that, I don't know, advertise the effects of social media. When I'm in Australia and I go to a casino, everywhere I look, I see like little tiny billboards telling me that it's bad for my health.
Right. It's like, hey, like have fun, but like just like think about that it's bad for you.
Yes, and by the way, they stop you after 3 hours.
Yeah,
they have regulations.
But this is it's. I mean, I there are people talking about this that will talk about this much more articulately than I, but. The point is to addict you. Like like currently that is it's going just totally unchecked. I don't think it's going to happen for too much longer. What do I know?
But I just don't think they can develop something that's not addictive, right? So like,
I don't know. I think and again, I don't remember the guy who's a big part of the Social Dilemma. I just listened to him on a podcast. Like, the incentives just have to change. The incentives of what it's supposed to do for us has to change. How does that happen? I don't know. Because right now they're just fighting for our attention. So it's just trying to take all of our attention, and that's how it benefits. That's how it gets ad views. So somebody has to do something to change the incentives, to change the reason why it exists. I don't know how that's going to happen, but I think it can, and I think it will.
And saying that, leave your thoughts in the comment section.
Yeah. Like and subscribe, though, please.
That's the ironic thing. Like, that will be clipped and put on TikTok.
Yep. So. Yeah, exactly. Yes. And then maybe, hey, if you just watch this on TikTok, maybe go turn off TikTok for a second. Just for a second. Go outside for like a second or do something else. But just like, if you saw this online, now's your chance to stop being online for like 20 minutes.
How much of your character in No Hard Feelings was you and how much was acting?
Are you from this interview? Are you sensing that a lot of it was me?
We got a lot in common, which is good.
Yeah, we do. No, it was a lot. It was a lot of me. It was a lot of me, and that was why I was so like. As soon as I read the script, I was like, I know him. I am him for better and definitely for worse. Like, but no, a lot of it was me. Which was why it was so fun, because the actual foundation of the character was not a challenge in the slightest. The challenge was going toe to toe with her and all of the individual weird things I had to do every day with my body, with like learning how to do these like little stunts and just like show up and be funny. Like that was certainly a challenge, and the pressure of that all. But it was a lot of fun. It was so much fun to make that movie. And so yeah, a lot of it was me. I'm excited to play more characters that are less like me. But I'm pretty lucky that the one that, at least right now, people know me for is me, pretty much.
A few minutes ago, you said you were looking at your classes at Harvard when she called you. Did Jennifer call you and say, like, I want you to be the
Yes.
co-star? Really?
Yes.
Wow, that's awesome.
She for Gene, our writer director, called and he said, "Hey, I'm patching Jen through," and I was like, "Okay." And then I was on the Long Island Railroad, and she comes through and she goes, "Andrew, I'm so sorry, you're not going to be able to go back to Harvard this semester." That's what she said. That's how I found out. Yeah, it was crazy. She's the greatest. She is the best. That was just it was an incredible experience making that movie.
How many auditions do you go on after that?
Since then,
Yeah.
it's a lot of self tapes, but it's actually less than it was before, because it's more selective. It's more stuff that I would actually want to do. Like I and my wonderful agent feel a lot more comfortable saying, like, I don't really want to do this. Like, I read the script, I don't like it, I don't want to do this. So it's self tapes, it's general meetings, it's stuff like that, and so yeah, there's been a lot, but also the strike happened right after the movie came out. So I kind of feel like I'm still at square one. I don't have the next thing lined up yet. I'm like really close to like a couple things. So we'll see, of course, and I'm excited to get back into it. But yeah, the strike happened right after, which was, yes, killed the momentum, but also like kind of similarly to the pandemic in a lot of ways, probably the best thing that could have happened to me. I think there was this feeling when the movie was coming out and I was doing the press tour and all that. Not that it was necessary. I don't know that it was getting to my head like I was going to be like a jerk. I don't think that was going to happen, but I think there was a feeling of like, gotta get used to this now. This is my life now. And so to right away,
I'm a movie star now.
like I guess I'm we were flying all around the world. And in private jets and like talking about this thing. And it's not that I was taking it for granted for a second, but I was like, I have to get accustomed to this big life change. I was really bracing for it. And my girlfriend was really the one who was like, it doesn't have to be if you don't want it to be. That's up to you. Like, it's up to you if your life changes. Of course, people might recognize you and stuff, and I just didn't believe it until I saw it. And then the strike happened and I was like, oh, I have to remember how to be a person again and not define myself by this thing that has defined me for the last year, pretty much. This thing that in the shooting of it, in the process, everything was just preparing for it to come out. And then it came out and it did really well and people really liked it. And now people tell me on the street that they really liked it. And that's really the only thing that's different about my life, besides that I have more access to be doing the things that I want to be doing. So all of the things I was scared of didn't happen. All of the things I was excited about are happening. And I got these months that the strike was happening to remember that I'm, before all of the other things, before I'm an actor, before I'm like a human being that has friends, that lives in New York, that is very young and has a lot of time.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing to finally be reminded of.
I needed it.
And to
I
accept.
did. It's been a really great few months to be able to focus on writing, to be able to focus on my community, to be able to focus on myself and my well-being. It's been like a pretty life-changing few months since the movie came out. Of course, the movie in its way was massively life-changing, but I think in a more of a quiet way and in perhaps somewhat of a deeper way, these last few months since the movie has come out have been really incredible.
A lot of eyes were also on that movie because that brought Jennifer Lawrence back to acting after she took like a 3-4 year break.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was, and we felt it. Not to mention that she had a child.
that's right. She became a mom.
8 months before filming. So he was around like every day. Sai, he's my best friend. I love this kid. He's turning 2 this month. He is the best. And so, yeah. And this was her first comedy too. Mm-hmm. She said something really early on because I was just having such a good time. And that's the vibe I tend to bring into a room. Is I come into a room and I'm like, I'm so happy to be here. Like I'm just like so excited to be wherever I am for the most part, unless it's a bad place to be. But I try not to go to those places. But I was so excited. And she was like, I feel bad for you, kid. It's not always going to be this good. And she said, my first movie was Winter's Bone. Like that was what she kept reminding me of, was that I was really lucky to be doing this movie with this people, playing this character, having this much freedom. Like I had so much freedom to bring so much of myself to the character every day, my own ideas. Gene is just brilliant. His co-writer, John Phillips, is just brilliant. The team was incredible. So yeah, it was just really fun. I think, especially after doing Dear Evan Hanson, like what we were talking about of the pressure of that, the insecurity of that, I knew that I couldn't make that mistake again. And what we're talking about ERP, this is actually a really great example of ERP, was my therapist. I was really worried every day that I was like going to get fired. Like not really, but like I was like, I think I screwed up today. Like I think I did a really bad job, and I would go home and like really think about it. And the next morning I'd be like, I have to show up today. I have to do a good job. My therapist was like, well, what's going to happen if not? And I was like, okay. And I like walked through the whole thing. Like nobody's going to like me, and they're not going to tell me, or they're going to fire me, or the movie's not going to be good or whatever. And he's like, maybe. And I was like, oh. So I started every day filming that movie being like, I'm going to do a terrible job today. I'm going to be really, I know this sounds crazy, but I was like, I'm going to be really bad today. I'm going to do a bad job, and I'm going to get fired, and everybody's going to hate me, and it's not going to go well, and it's not going to get shot the way that he's get shot. But you know what? I am going to do my best. And that's all I can do. And it just, the biggest weight off my shoulders. And the days where I try not to associate it too much, but the day, like, cause it's its own judgment. But the days where I was the most successful at that were the days that were absolutely my best performances in the movie. The days where I really gave in to just like, I'm just going to measure today and how kind I can be to everybody. And I'm going to just do my best and be present as best I can. That's the days that at the end of the shoot, when I would like go around and be like, what were your favorite days of the shoot? It was the days everybody mentioned were those days. And I would end every day the same way, because I would just beat my brain to the punch. My brain would be there saying all that, and my instinct is to say like, no, that's not true. That gets me nowhere. Instead, I'm like, yeah, I did a terrible job today. They hate me. They don't want to tell me. That nice thing they said to me was a lie. But I did my best, and I'm going to do my best again tomorrow. Like that, and that was the process. And it was so relieving. And I carry it with me every day. Like not just acting, like just being a person in the world. Whatever, things just feel so high stakes, to me at least. So it just helps to lower the stakes of life.
100%.
Yeah.
You control the effort, not the outcome.
Yes.
And do you leave that thinking that everyone hates you ultimately, or do you realize eventually that they all actually love you?
No. I definitely don't leave that thinking everybody hates me. I think it's still, I mean, there's social anxiety all the time. Like, you know, when I see somebody that I worked with on anything, I leave that social situation be like, I wonder if they hate me. I hope they don't hate me. Always.
I get it.
But no, I feel very, very loved by Jen. She feels like family, and that whole team. I feel really proud of what I did, and I've started to believe the things that they've said about me, especially since like things have come out, like interviews and stuff with them, and they say nice things about me, and I'm like, well, if they're saying it in private, then I guess they probably mean it. Also, just like learning to believe people when they say things to you, because if they're lying to you, that sucks. But they probably want you to believe it, so you might as well. I don't know.
Do you take anything from filming High School Musical into No Hard Feelings? Because like you're filming a Disney show, then you're getting a lap dance from Jennifer Lawrence, and I'm like, I don't think those two go hand in hand.
They do and they don't. 100%. I think all of the projects that I did leading up to No Hard Feelings prepared me for No Hard Feelings. High School Musical was my first time on camera, and it was my first time professionally doing straight comedy. My character in the series was Antoine, a French exchange student, and it was my first time even like being outside during the pandemic. We shot that in like October 2020. So that was crazy. Not to mention that I loved season 1. So like the first people that I was seeing outside of my family were not just the cast of High School Musical, the series, which was a show I was obsessed with, but them in character. So it was like this weird fever dream of like them being costumed. I'm like, this is so weird. I'm in my TV show. So it definitely did. Just being on camera, comedic timing, learning to trust a director, because Tim Federle, who's the showrunner of that show, is just incredible. And then I did this movie called A Tourist's Guide to Love, which is on Netflix, which was my first full run of picture, like being in a movie beginning to end. And we shot in Vietnam for a month and a half, which was crazy. And that prepared me for just like going every day to work and like being in a place for a certain amount of time. And then I was in 2 scenes in the movie White Noise that both got cut. The Noah Baumbach movie. I just actually watched the one scene that I'm in. My head's in the background. I just watched it for the first time because I was like, it was Adam Driver. Both of my scenes were with Adam Driver, which was crazy. So that prepared me for like standing in front of somebody, a superstar who I just admire so much personally, and not pissing my pants and like doing a hopefully good job. I had this whole scene with Adam Driver that got cut for that movie. And while I was filming it, I was like, I think this is going to get cut. I don't think they need this. But they were really nice, and they were profusely apologized. And I found out that the scenes were cut while I was filming No Hard Feelings. So I was like, this is perfect. Like, now the first movie I'm ever going to be in theaters is this movie where I'm on the poster with Jennifer Lawrence as opposed to the one where I'm student outside Jack's office. That was the name of my character. But it was so all of those things in their own way prepared me for No Hard Feelings, for sure.
Life is wild like that.
I know, right? Like, you never see it while it's happening. How could you? You don't know where it's going. And it's really, again, talk about embracing uncertainty. It's a really hard and weird thing to ride the wave. But to learn enough times that it ends up working out the way that it should, makes it easier and easier. And right now, I'm quite enjoying the sort of in between that I'm in right now.
You should listen to Penn Station.
Oh, thanks.
It's waiting for you. There's a link in the description below. You can stream it on Amazon Music or wherever you stream. What are you thinking?
I just love how passionate you are about the things you do. I love your energy. You aren't
Thanks.
lying. When you come into the room, you're like making it fun for everyone.
That's really
nice
of you to say. And it's not a conscious goal, but has always been like a thing of mine to be like, I want to enjoy the stuff I'm doing. So thanks for being in that with me. This was really wonderful.
Please keep being yourself, because I genuinely think you're one in a trillion, and you're going to accomplish some really amazing shit. So really excited to watch you do your thing.
You guys, I think this show is just amazing. I was so excited. I am so happy to be here. So thank you for having me. Seriously, this was wonderful.
I really appreciate your time and energy. And please stream Penn Station, but also just understand that like this human being is special, and you'll see more of him, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at your IMDb, it's not long, but everything you've done is huge.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we'll see what's
I
next.
think the movie TV world is going to be something, but I also think one day you're going to really shake the musical world. I'm excited.
That's where my heart is, and I want to stay. Like, I have such a passion for immersive experiences too, like pulling you into the
dude,
just
give
all
me
that.
Sleep No More, but like not
Just
so
went
dark.
last week again,
It's
second
really
time.
great.
It's so great. Like all that stuff, I just am obsessed with. I mean, this is a whole other can of words. I did the Star Wars hotel and it changed my life in Disney World. But anyway, all that stuff. Like I hope we can all gather together in spaces and like be pulled into the present with one another.
I think it's really that's special, and people like that.
I certainly do, and I think there's more and more of a hunger for it, especially in this generation that we are. So I think there's an underestimation for how much we do want to be in spaces with each other, how much we want a feeling and an experience to be cultivated for us. I'm going to Disneyland tomorrow. Can't wait.
Oh my God, enjoy it.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
I definitely will.
Yeah, have the most fun. Andrew Barth Feldman, everybody.
Thank you all so much. Thank you. This is awesome.